You didn't shout, you didn't run. You stayed and smiled like nothing changed. Your voice still sounded soft and warm, but with something honest rearranged. I felt it in the pauses first. The way your touch lost gravity. You were still here in every way, except the part that belonged to me. You learned how to look innocent while stepping out of what we were. I kept defending all your silence, calling it tiredness, calling it blur. You crossed the line quietly, no mess, no trace, no sound. You let me stand inside the love while you were already leaving town. I broke without a single scene, no proof, no reason I could see. You crossed the line quietly and left the blame inside of me. You never changed your daily habits. I said my name before you slept, but honesty left your eyes first, and promises learned how to bend. I trusted what you didn't say, believed your comment we were fine. I didn't know betrayal could feel like being loved at the same time. You never needed to confess, your distance said enough for you. I was loyal to a version of us that only I was being true to. You crossed the line quietly between your words and what you did. You let me love you openly while you were learning how to hide. No evidence to set me free, just outgrowing silently. You crossed the line quietly and rewrote what love did to me. Name. It was a moment you chose ease over truth. You stayed because it was comfortable, not because you still wanted us to move. That kind of betrayal cuts deeper because it never admits it's there. It teaches your heart to question every calm, every I care. You crossed the line quietly and I paid for every step. I gave you loyalty and patience. You gave me feelings half kept. I won't beg clarity from confusion or shrink myself to make you stay. You crossed the line quietly, but I walked away wide awake. I loved you without conditions. You loved me without repair. I survived what you never admitted, and I won't follow you there. I stayed and waited for your eyes to come back home, still setting a place for words you never spoke. You laughed like nothing and you had moved, while I was holding us together with hope and glue. You didn't end it, you just loosened your hands, letting distance do what courage couldn't stand. I kept fixing moments you were already done with, calling it patience, calling it love. Love left first before you did it, packed its things inside your silence. You stayed in body, not in it. I felt the goodbye before you said it. You didn't cheat, you didn't fight, you just stopped choosing us at night. Love left first and I was last to understand what didn't last. You kissed me like a habit you forgot to feel. Said I'm tired when I asked if we were real. I trusted calm more than truth, believe comfort meant you still cared too. Every promise slowly lost its weight, until I was loving someone already halfway gone away. You let me dream in a shrinking room, while you were quietly making space to move. Love left first before the end. It slipped away in little moments. You smiled through the consequence while I carried all the damage. No screaming doors, no final scene, just me alone inside the in-between. Love left first and I stayed longer than my heart could take. Betrayal doesn't always wear another name. Sometimes it's comfort choosing not to change. You didn't break me with a lie, you broke me by not trying. That's the wound that doesn't bleed, but teaches trust to lead. Love left first and took you with it. Even while you held my hand, I was loyal to a feeling you no longer try to understand. I forgive myself for believing more, for fighting when you closed the door. Love left first, but I survived and learned to stay on my own side. You didn't walk away that day, but your heart already had. I didn't lose you all at once, I lost you piece by piece. I had You smiled at me like nothing was broken, like love was still safe in your hands. I read devotion in every small moment, while you were quiet making other plans. Your warmth never changed, your tone stayed gentle. That's what hurt the most. I didn't know deception could feel so familiar or live that close. I searched your eyes for honesty, found comfort dressed as truth. I didn't see the distance growing, I only saw you. There was betrayal in your smile, in the way you looked at me and stayed. You held me close without intention and let me love you anyway. I trusted what your face promised while your heart was miles away. You didn't stab me with goodbye, you hid betrayal in your smile. You said my name like it still mattered, like I wasn't already losing you. I gave you patience without question while you decided what to do. You let me believe we were surviving, that love just needed time. I didn't know you were already finished, still smiling like you were mine. You never looked guilty standing next to me, never flinched when I reached for your hand. That's how I learned betrayal doesn't always tremble, sometimes it stands calm. There was betrayal in your smile, soft, convincing and kind. You reassured me while you were leaving and I fell behind. I trusted the warmth you showed me, ignored the warning signs. I didn't see the ending coming, just betrayal in your smile. I wouldn't survive the truth earlier, even if it shattered my pride, but you chose comfort over courage and let me live inside a lie. You didn't break me in one moment, you wore me down with peace. You let me love you fearlessly while your honesty decreased. There was betrayal in your smile, and how safe you made me feel. You stayed long enough to keep me hoping, then left me with what was real. I won't blame my heart for trusting you, it only knew how to try. But I'll never forget the lesson I learned from betrayal in your smile. Now I listen close because the deepest lies I've ever known smiled right at my face. You told the truth in pieces, just enough to sound sincere. You left out what would hurt me and called that love, my dear. You answered what I asked you, but never what I needed to know. I trusted the space between your words, didn't realize that's where the lie would grow. You weren't fully false or fully real, that's what confused my heart. You stayed close enough to keep me hoping, but far enough to fall apart. You were almost honest, and that was worse than lies. You gave me half the truth to hold and hid behind gentle lies. I believed what you didn't say, more than what you showed. You didn't break me with deception, you broke me being almost honest. You said you cared and I believe you did, just not enough to stay. You loved me in the safest way, where nothing asked you to change. You let me think we were surviving when you were already gone. I was fixing cracks you never felt, trying to keep us strong. You didn't deny, you didn't confess, you let me fill the space. I carried the weight of your silence and mistook it for grace. You were almost honest, you never fully lied, but you let me build a future while your heart stepped aside. You watched me trust you completely, knowing what I'd lose. You didn't choose another person, you just didn't choose us. I would've survived the whole truth, even if it hurt like hell, but you softened it to protect yourself and let me break instead. Almost honest still means knowing and choosing not to be clear. It means you saw the ending coming and left me standing here. You were almost honest, and I loved you like you were true. I gave you faith without conditions while you slowly withdrew. I don't regret the way I loved or the trust I gave away. I just learned that almost honest love is still a kind of betrayal. Now I want truth without cushioning, even if it makes me cry, because love that's brave enough to be honest is the only love I'll try. I stayed awake fixing us in my head while you slept fine, letting us fade. I counted the reasons to keep believing. You counted the cost of what you'd have to change. You held my hand when it was convenient, let go when it asked for more. I loved you like love was a promise. You loved me like an open door. Every time I needed certainty, you called it pressure, called it fear. I kept shrinking my expectations so you could stay comfortable here. You chose yourself when it mattered most, when loving me required a stand. You chose the life that asked was just you. You said you weren't trying to hurt me, and maybe that part was true, but avoiding pain for yourself still meant handing it all to me. You let me believe in someday while you lived in right now. I built a future out of your silence and paid for it somehow. You never said you were leaving, you just stopped standing close. I kept loving the version of you that needed me the most. You chose yourself when it cost me everything, when honesty would have been kind. You chose comfort over courage and left my love behind. I gave you patience without limits, I gave you truth without disguise. But when love asked you to show up, you chose yourself and walked away alive. Maybe you'll call this self-respect, maybe you'll say it was fate, but love isn't losing someone slowly while they hesitate. I don't hate you for saving yourself, I just wish you let me know, so I wouldn't have mistaken your distance for something that could still grow. You chose yourself in the quiet moments when no one else could see. You chose the version of life without risk and erased the best of me. I don't regret the way I loved you or how deeply I believed. I just learned that loving someone fully doesn't mean they'll choose you back. Sometimes they choose themselves and leave. Now I'm choosing honesty over hope, even if it hurts to start, because I'd rather be alone and whole than loved by someone who won't choose my heart. I treated your name like a quiet prayer, spoke it softly, careful not to break it. I carried your secrets like fragile glass, afraid my honesty might shake them. I showed up whole, no hidden doors, no half-truths, dressed as grace. But you wore love like borrowed clothing, something you leave in a different place. I thought love meant standing naked in truth, not hiding when things got hard. I was building something holy with you while you were guarding your heart. Love wasn't sacred to you like it was to me. It wasn't a vow, it wasn't a choice, it was something you touched when it felt good, then ignored when it found its voice. I bled devotion, you felt inconvenience, I knelt while you stayed amused. I love like it mattered forever, you love like something you could use. You promised without understanding the way you said words that sounded sincere, but your actions kept slipping away every time love needed you here. I learned how silence can scream, how absence can lie so loud. You never shouted me all at once, you disappeared piece by piece somehow. I kept forgiving what you wouldn't face, calling neglect being kind. I made excuses for your indifference so I wouldn't lose my mind. Love wasn't sacred in the way you stayed or the way you looked away. I gave you faith, you gave me doubt and called it growing pains. I held the truth with trembling hands, you dropped it without a sound. I loved you like love was a promise, you loved me like I was optional. Now maybe you never meant to betray me, maybe you just never knew how to care. But love doesn't mistaking your comfort for someone who protect me as well. Love wasn't sacred when you chose yourself. When honesty asked you to stay, I would have fought through the darkest truths. You walked the easier way. I won't carry the blame for your emptiness or the vows you couldn't keep. Love was sacred to my whole heart, even if it was never sacred to you. That part is mine to keep. Now I lay my love down carefully, not colder, just awake, because love should feel like something holy, not like a beautiful mistake. You smile like nothing was broken, like my trust was still alive. You held my hands with borrowed warmth while hiding pieces of your life. I believe the calm in your voice, the way you said my name. I didn't know honesty was waiting, just too late to save us the same. I was loyal to the version of you I knew, not the one you kept out of sight. I stayed faithful to half of the story, while the truth learned how to hide. Your truth came late when my heart was tired, when the damage was already done. You spoke so clearly after the silence, after I'd already come undone. If I'd known then what you admitted now, I wouldn't be discarded. Your truth came late, and timing turned honesty into a blade through my heart. I asked the questions you avoided, I felt the distance you denied. You called my doubts insecurity, while living a double-sided lie. I carried hope like a fragile thing, afraid to drop it on the floor. You waited until I was empty, then finally told me more. Truth shouldn't arrive as an apology or surface when love is gone. The truth came late, but my healing came right when I learned to walk away. I don't need the rest of your honesty. Now that my heart feels safe, some truths aren't meant to fix the past. They only explain why you couldn't stay. I trusted the quiet in your eyes, the way you swore you'd never lie. I built a future on your words, not knowing truth was something you'd hide. I defended you when doubt spoke loud, even silenced my own fear. I called it love, I called it faith, while the warning signs were clear. I thought believing made me strong, I thought loyalty was proof. Didn't know belief could bleed when it's placed in someone untrue. I wasn't broken by the ending or the moment you walked away. I was broken by belief, by every promise I chose to stay. You didn't need to raise your voice or shatter me with hate. I broke myself believing you long before you showed your face. You let me love you without doubt, without armor, without a wall. You took my trust like it was endless, like it wouldn't hurt to fall. I ignored the cracks in your stories, called them misunderstandings. I was busy proving my devotion while you practiced disappearing. You didn't steal my heart outright, you let me hand it over. Slow betrayal doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers. Don't you know I wasn't broken by the goodbye or the truth I couldn't deny. I was broken by belief, by loving you with my whole life. You kept your secrets comfortably while I carried all the weight. I broke myself believing you, mistaken faith for fate. Belief made me patient past reason, forgiving what shouldn't be forgiven. It taught me to doubt my instincts, to call survival being difficult. You didn't have to cheat or run, you just had to let me trust. That was enough to ruin me, that was enough to break us. I'm not ashamed of how deeply I loved or how honestly I stayed, but I won't confuse belief with love or sacrifice myself that way. I didn't lose because I cared, I lost because I believed. I wasn't broken by you leaving, I was broken by belief. Now I listen when my heart goes quiet, when something feels incomplete. I still believe in love someday, just not at the cost of me. You smiled like safety, spoke like truth, every word dressed warm and kind. I fell for how you held the room, never questioned what was behind. You knew exactly how to listen, how to sound like you understood. I didn't notice the pauses, I just believed you would. You showed me what I needed most, not what was real or meant to stay. I love the version you performed while the real you slipped away. I love the mask, not the man. I love the dream you let me hold. I love the gentleness you acted while your honesty stayed cold. You never promised to be real, I just assumed that you were. I love the mask you wore so well, and paid the price for loving more. use it to perfect your role. You learned my fears, my softest parts, then hid the truth inside them all. I defended you when cracks appeared, called my doubts insecurity. I thought love meant being patient, not realizing I was being deceived. You never forced me to believe, you just let me trust too deep. The lie wasn't in your words alone, it was in the silence you kept. I love the mask, the careful act, the way you knew what love should say. I love the illusion of forever while you rehearsed your escape. You kept your distance, dressed as care, your absence learned to feel polite. I love the mask you wore so calmly until the truth took off its light. The hardest part isn't losing you, it's realizing who you weren't. Grieving someone who never existed, that's a different kind of hurt. You weren't cruel, you weren't loud, you didn't leave in flames or sound. You just stopped pretending one day and let the mask fall to the ground. I don't regret the love I gave, even if it wasn't returned. But I'll never confuse performance again with the kind of love that's earned. You walked away unchanged and clean while I learned the cost of trust. I didn't love a liar, I loved a mask, and mistook it for us. Now when someone feels too perfect, too gentle to wear, I listen for the truth beneath, not just the face they wear. You said my name like it mattered, but your eyes were already gone. Your hands stay warm on the surface, while your heart had quietly moved on. I trusted the weight of your presence, thought closeness meant you were true. I didn't know love could be practiced, like something you do not feel through. You stayed just enough to be needed, left just enough to stay free. I kept believing in effort while you believed in leaving me. Faithless feelings broke me slowly, not loud enough to make a sound. You loved me in pieces and moments, never enough to stay around. Your words were full of intention, your actions refused to align. I gave you belief without limit, you gave me doubt dressed up as time. You promised without saying promise, let hope do the work for you. Every maybe felt like a future, every silence felt like truth. I kept forgiving the distance, calling it pressure or fear. I learned too late that devotion doesn't disappear when it's real. You never planned on breaking me, you just never planned to stay. I missed the comfort for commitment and paid for it every day. Faithless feelings held me hostage between what you said and showed. You made me fall for your potential, not the love you never owed. I waited for consistency, You waited for the right time to go. I gave you certainty and patience. You gave me feelings you didn't own. The betrayal wasn't another name or hands that were mine. It was loving me without intention and calling it trying. You let me build a future alone while you stayed undecided inside. That kind of love leaves no closure, just questions that echo at night. Faithless feelings don't scream goodbye. They fade while you're still there. You stay close enough to confuse me, but never close enough to care. I won't beg belief from uncertainty, or teach someone how to choose. I survive loving you honestly, even when your feelings refuse. I don't hate you for leaving. I forgive what you couldn't be, but I'll never again trust a heart that borrows faith.